Hello, my name is Matthias Cavodio. Welcome guys to my channel. Today we're going to talk about Uncanny X-Men issue 355. There's actually something super relevant that takes place in this issue, referenced in one of those little boxes in the bottom corner of one of the panels that establishes something to be canon that I had no idea that was canon, and I thought it was super cool to share with you guys. But before we get into this issue, I actually also wanted to do issue 354 because we have the X-Men going up against Sauron. He's not any type of Omega level threat. There's not too many compelling Sauron stories out there, but I just really love him as a villain. When I was a 10-year-old, the first time I saw Sauron, I think it was in the Jim Lee trading card series that he did for the X-Men. That was really awesome. That I'm missing only one card, Psylocke. I saw Sauron for the first time in one of those cards, and I thought he was the coolest thing ever. He's like, instead of a werewolf, he's like a weird dinosaur with vampire powers, hypnotic powers, and can cast illusions, sometimes breathes fire. And villains like this, they're mid-level. They're not a existential threat to any team, but he is sort of dangerous. And so when he pops up in stories, or villains of this caliber pop up in stories, sort of the idea is to show off the dynamics between the team, how they work off each other. So during this time, Sauron had hitched a ride with Khazar, got out of Savage Land. Khazar, during this particular era, he was in New York in that Khazar ongoing series that was really cool, where he ends up fighting Thanos. Sauron goes searching for mutants to feed off. That's sort of his whole gist. He finds Wolverine and the X-Men. He feeds off Wolverine. It's sort of teased at first that Rogue actually did this. There's like a whole story arc, because these issues both are actually written by Steve Seagle. That this particular era of X-Men wasn't the best. You would get these one-off issues that were pretty cool, but in general, like, the series didn't know where to go. The art in both of these issues is by Chris Bachalo. He kills it. I love his work, even though he has a lot of tropes and repeats himself a lot. But when he does have to do reptilian type of characters, you know he's going to have a field day. The panel work, too, it's really great. So Rogue was sort of weird. She didn't want her powers anymore. She was going to this doctor, and she was being manipulated by Mystique. So that was that whole subplot there. Now we have Sauron attacking the X-Men. The lineup's pretty cool. You got Iceman, Storm. Also during this time, Jubilee pops in for a visit. She was actually on Generation X during this time. Iceman. Maggot. Maggot's a character that I really loved back then. Like, this character, for some reason, didn't get too much love. He did have a super gross powers. That he had these two maggots that were actually an extension of his digestive system. So I'm pretty stoked. I found out there's going to be a Maggot Marvel Legends figure, so that's going to be really cool. It's going to be crazy expensive once it gets here to Argentina to buy. But look at Bachalo's art. He just kills it. And all these issues. Also during this time, we had the subplot of Bishop being lost to space with Deathbird. And it gets really weird at the end because Deathbird somehow gets recruited by Apocalypse and becomes War. Also during this time, the original Recipe X-Men are up in Alaska. They're trying to chill out. I think Cyclops is trying to get recuperated because he had a bomb implanted in his chest. So that's pretty messed up. Jean Grey's back to wearing her old Phoenix costume, which aesthetically, it's my favorite. I love how this costume looks on her. So obviously, at the end of this particular issue, Wolverine clocks Sauron, takes him down. He ties him up. He's gonna take him to the authorities. That's where we continue with this particular story. And again, it's sort of like the classic trope of Alpha Flight. Alpha Flight come knocking. They confront Wolverine, say, hey, you got to go to Canada. We got to talk. The government has a lot of questions for you. And actually, it's sort of like implied that he was possibly tied to a murder or something like that. There's some type of footage of him killing a government agent. I think it was like Madison Jeffries, like Box or something like that. I don't completely remember what was the context. But here we have the mid-90s. Alpha Flight is pretty much a whole new team. Basically, the only two original Alpha Flight members are Vindicator. I think her name was Vindicator at this time because she would change her name a lot. And Puck. Guardian is not the same guy. Sasquatch, it's not the same Sasquatch. Got a new box. I'm not sure. I think her name is Murmur or something like that. These two kids, for the love of Christ, I can't remember their names. I think one is hinted to be the son of Onus because he has these force field powers. I think this guy's called Flex or something like that. He can make blades out of his hands and stuff like that. So they try to stop Wolverine. Wolverine tells them to go fuck themselves. And basically, we all know that what's going to happen. There's going to be a big throwdown between Wolverine and Alpha Flight. So while the battle rages on, again, Bachalo's art is just a lot of fun. Gets really creative. In this little box here, we get a reference to Wolverine remembering being in the Amalgam universe, the fusion universe after Marvel DC, during the whole Marvel versus DC thing. So I had no idea that was actually canon. I wonder if there's any other references to that, of that going on by characters in the Marvel universe. I'm not sure if it was canon for the DC characters, but I thought it was really cool. And the weird thing is, Wolverine at the end of the story, and halfway through the story, the characters from Alpha Flight realize he has bone claws, and the footage that they had, Wolverine had his adamantium claws. So Alpha Flight realizes they have been set up. That's sort of like a trope with Alpha Flight, that they're always being set up and always being duped by the government to do things that they shouldn't do or get tricked and stuff like that. So Alpha Flight's like, oh God, they did it again. Sorry, Wolverine. Sorry trying to track you down. X-Men arrive. We get a second battle. Like, they were resolving the whole conflict. We get a second battle with both teams battling out with the classic trope, superhero misunderstanding. But obviously, it's a lot of fun. So both teams are starting to duke it out. When the two youngest members, Cannonball and I think his name is Flex, realize this is just senseless violence and they should talk it over, and they talk sense into the adults. I guess the writer realizes they were running out of pages to keep the battle going on. So both teams realize that they're being stupid. And the fight concludes, the issue concludes. But the cool thing is, this reference to Amalgam Universe, Amalgam, I can't remember properly the name. And I'm just a sucker for these stupid fights between two superhero teams. When I see these covers with two teams about to duke it out, I'm in. I don't care how mediocre or bad the story is. I always love these. So, hope you guys like this video. See you guys next time.